What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Bucs Report. And you got two special people of mine, close friends, family of Bucs Report. You got Brett Matthews and Mr. Peter Blake, who's exclusively on Bucs Report all the time, anytime. I don't know how the man has time to do all these shows, quite personally, but I hope he doesn't hear me. I'm going to bring him in, and we'll start off. Mr. Peter Blake should be joining us in a second, along with Mr. Brett Matthews.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I'm your host, Peter Blake of the Sports Web.
All right. Brett, you still there?
Yeah, man, I'm here. We got Peter here now.
No, hold on. Peter's coming back. He got put in timeout.
Why'd you put me in timeout for?
I didn't do that. Go ahead, Peter.
I was going to say, how do I have so much time? I make the time for Bucs Report because they support us. We have great Bucs content, bucsreport.com, and join our 61,000 following on Facebook. So a lot of things to talk about tonight, I guess, Blake. You wanted to do some film breakdown. I mean, what's going on here?
Oh, no. Yeah, we can do some film breakdown. Says anything you guys want to get off your chest first before we go into all that?
Well, I kind of already got it off my chest, but I want to ask you guys, what do you think about the attendance situation with the Tampa Bay Rays? Why are you not showing up to Rays games? Is it ownership? Is it prices? Is it concessions? Is it the fact that you can stay home and save money? I mean, both of you can chime in here. Tell me why you don't go to Rays games and why you think the fans don't go to Rays games.
You want this one for a rep?
Yeah, I'll take it. They beat it out of me, man. Like, it's just, years and years of it's been the same issue, being all the way in St. Pete, dealing with Tropicana. It's, it's nice, but I work in St. Pete, so I have to drive to St. Pete. That's, on a good day, a 45-minute drive from Riverview to St. Pete. That's even taking the crosstown and taking it a little extra shortcut and costing me $2 every time. So, there just isn't a desire to go out there. They were an impressive team last year. They did 90 wins last year, which is great. I'm surprised they did it. And maybe they can pick it up throughout the rest of this year. But until I think the problem with the Trop is until you win a World Series, people aren't just going to care enough to go out there. You know what I mean? It's a drive. It's a drive.
To me, it's all about trying to make it an event, right? I mean, if they did promotions on the weekdays instead of the weekends, I think you may go out there. But you're exactly right. You have Yankee, you have Red Sox fans. If they won a World Series, if they were even a consistent playoff contender every year, I think more people would care, right, Blake?
Absolutely. It would be something like that. And to answer your question, I think we talked about that on Saturday at Ferg's. One of the first things I said is, why is your guys' baseball stadium in St. Pete? To back up what Rhett was just saying, why is it all the way over there and everything else is in Tampa? With that being said, I've never been to a Rays game or I've never been to a Lightning game in attendance. I've watched plenty of the games and all that. I've just never been, and I can't really say it's because they've been losing or winning. I don't know. I've just never been into going to baseball games like that. It's probably something I should try to do and then get in a thing and keep on going, just like I do with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they are the home team and I support the home squads. And I like baseball and hockey. I grew up actually playing hockey first before I played football, actually. So that's where I kind of got a love. It was actually hockey and baseball before football. So it was, ironically, I'm more attached to football than the other two.
Okay. All right. So what do you got on your chest tonight, Blake?
Well, I can do it as I promised. We can go over the some of the tape of the film of the Jets with Todd Bowles and see what the defense is going to kind of look like. If you guys want to hang in there a second, I can bring it up here.
It's all good.
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, we can go ahead and take some fans' responses here while you're doing that. Jeremiah says, "What's going on?" Bucs Report is, of course, bucsreport.com. Definitely check out the great Bucs content. If you missed the last show, which was the Sports Web, he had Ren Dax, a Pewtercast. He said he's going to be out at Ferg's on Saturday. So more visitors, and I love it. Anytime Bucs podcast can come on Bucs Report, come on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, which is the Sports Web, and also Blake and Blake Sports, we welcome it, man. We welcome it. If you want to debate with us, if you want to talk with us, We got Rhett Matthew from Cannon Fire Podcast. So, I mean, we're just growing the family, adding more and more people to it. And if you don't want to be a part of the family and still want to come on debate us, we can absolutely do that too. Matt says, hey guys, let's start bucking around. Christopher says ownership, location, and price. Sierra tunes in. Thanks a lot for tuning in to, I guess, Bucs Report's four-way show. We'll have Philip Schwagler on here in just a little bit. Earl says St. Pete is heaven's waiting room. I Buck U equals Bay Q. Jeremiah. Okay. St. Pete has a lot of senior citizens who don't care about baseball, but they love bingo. Going to a Rays game sounds so vanilla to me. No offense to the Rays, but it just seems so blah. That's Ramblin' Tony Rossi there.
Right.
Richard Taroka, LA in the house. Jeremiah, yes. And this is cool. Nice production value. That's what you get here nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web, Blake and Blake Sports, and of course, this show here on the Be Live app. And if Philip Schwagler doesn't join us, who knows? Maybe we'll send out a link and get some fans on, but I'd really like to do that. I don't know what you guys thought about getting fans on, but people say, well, you can't take phone calls. Well, what's better than phone calls? We send you a link on the Be Live app. You get a chance to sit face-to-face with me and talk with me about what you want to talk about on the Sports Web.
Absolutely, Peter. And Phil is here. He's in the waiting room. He can hear us, but we can't hear him. But I'm actually on defense now, Phil. I don't know if you can see all this action going on the tape, but here we go.
All right. Well, let's get him in there. He's absolutely in the lobby. Matt says, funny how the Tampa Bay Bucks, Lightning, and Tampa Bay Rowdies all play on the Hillsborough side of the Bay Area. The Rays might want to pay attention. Problem is, how do you fund that? How do you get a new stadium when the owner basically does not want to play half for it? Does not. He wants basically the Hillsborough County taxpayers and commission and politicians to come up with a plan to build himself a stadium when he wants the stadium himself. So there has to be some compromise here, fellas. And if there's no compromise, this relationship will not work at all.
You guys can see the film and everything, right? Everybody's good?
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So if you guys know a little bit about football, what is this that you guys look here? I ain't trying to call y'all out. I just want to see what you think this is right here.
From an offensive formation, or are we looking at the defense?
Defense, because Bowles is coaching this defense.
Well, it looks like a 3-4 scheme to me. Or excuse me. Yeah, it looks like a 3-4, and it looks like it shifted to a certain side. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, it's basically this is a nickel package. You got four down line, you got four rushers, you got the four down linemen here, the two linebackers, then you've got your safety down in the box. Now this is probably somewhere where this is why we picked up Edwards and probably going to move MJ Stewart down, so he'll probably be around here where 21 is, and he can help us run, because you see at the strong side is where Sean McCoy is here on the right hand side, so he's probably going to man up on McCoy if he comes out the backfield. But these are just kind of look, and remember he said it's going to be like a hybrid 3-4-4-3 defense, and in this defense you can play anybody at all of these spots. So let's see what actually happens on this. That just pocket just crushes. There's nowhere to go. And I just hope that's what our guys look like with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh and Carl Nassib in the gang.
And we had talked, if I can jump in really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had talked on Saturday when we were at Ferg's after we had wrapped up. Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh together, both of those guys next to each other. I think what some Bucs fans might fail to forget or fail to realize is that Ndamukong Suh isn't going to be a guy who's going to give you double-digit sacks.
No.
Of course, he's playing next to Aaron Donald. But Ndamukong Suh, at the end of the day, is just a big, wide run stuffer. So to have him and Vita Vea, who is basically the same thing,
yes,
those guys together, they're going to wreak havoc, pun intended, on, just the weak side of any offensive line, man.
Absolutely, and in this defense, it's about gap penetration. I don't know if guys paid attention. I probably should go back. It's moving pretty slow tonight. Yeah,
Yeah,
here we
it's
go.
coming in a little laggy on my end.
Yeah,
Just through the
it
display
is
here.
on my end too. That's probably I got so many people on here. But from what you saw in the clip, you just saw the offensive line just crush. And pretty much the linebackers really didn't have to do too much because there was so much penetration in the backfield. The linebackers were able to just basically freelance if anybody broke three. But that's pretty much what the defense is going to look like. If I can get it to go, I'm gonna pause it on the defensive line when they're rushing there. But yeah, it's not the interior linemen are not going to be really keen on getting a whole bunch of sacks. If they get it, great job. But that's really at the end of the day not what the scheme is built for. It's going to be built for the guys coming off the edge in this defense, as far as sacks are concerned.
And I mean the linebackers too.
Yeah.
I think it sets up a lot of great ways to rush the linebacker. You watch some of Devin White's old college games. There's so many series where you look at how the LSU defense used them. They would blitz them 2-3 times in a row, and I mean he would hit home. I'd say at least 50% of the time. So it opens a lot of things up for other players rushing the quarterback for sure, man. Get some safety blitzes in there, maybe, like you said.
And Devin White was really good at rushing the passer.
Oh, yeah.
I gave him an A grade at rushing the passer. All right, here we go. Oh, there we go. Looked like it was going there. It didn't. Anyway, if this is going to keep messing, I'm just going to jump Phil in here and play with this a little bit. Phil, I'm going to bring you in.
And I just turned off my TV because I got tired of there's some flickering, which I have to figure out. What's going on, Phil?
What's up, Phil?
Hey,
Welcome to the crew.
What's up, guys? Thanks, appreciate it. Been waiting in that lobby for a while, bro. No, it's all good.
I can only bring up 4 on the screen, and that was taking up one of the blocks.
No, that's cool, man. Let's break down the film and show people what we can expect. Definitely expecting a lot of blitzing and rushing and collapsing the pockets this year, especially with Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea up the middle there, and you got Devin White and Levante David. Hungry, strong linebackers. We're gonna have maybe a couple safeties come down in the box and try to rush the passer. I mean, you've got all the pieces on this defense now, especially with the speedsters in the secondary. And you have the big guys up the middle, and then the two guys, the two very strong linebackers off the outsides, or if you're gonna have Noah Spence, whatever, rush on the outside. So looking forward to a lot of collapsed pockets for opposing QBs, like you guys were just saying, based off that film of Todd Bowles' defense.
Oh yeah, man.
You just saw that pocket just crumble.
I mean, and that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you want. What you want to get from Carl Nassib, and what you want to get from, an Anthony Nelson. That's what you want to get from your defense. And look, all these looks are going to be out there, and some looks that we haven't seen. Looking at it from the Bucs standpoint or Bucs fan standpoint, they haven't seen a defense like this ever. You haven't seen a 3-4 look. You haven't seen sub packages and stuff like that. A lot of the fans are used to those 4-3 looks in Tampa too. So this is going to be a life-changing thing for a lot of fans out there, with an aggressive defense that basically blitzes on the majority of their plays defensively.
And if I can jump in here too, we had talked about, not only just this changing defense that we haven't seen. It's a 3-4. You're going to have a lot of new looks. If I remember correctly, and maybe someone can update me on this because I haven't heard much difference since then. But if I remember, they had first kind of hinted around this defensive change. They had said, "Oh, well, it's going to be more of like a hybrid look. Like we're going to come at you in a base 3-4, but sometimes we'll change it up and run a 5-2. You'll see different plays out of a variation of a 4-3. Is that still on the table as far as we know, or is it strictly a 3-4? Because there's a ton of looks that they're coming up with, right?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Like I was showing in that last one, that's just basically a standard. What we've been running in Tampa, that's a nickel look. You just saw the safety down in the box to help in coverage on McCoy on that particular play. And then when you saw the motion, I don't know if you paid attention, you saw the safety switch. The one came down and the other guy came back. So you're going to get those looks. That's going to still be the same, what people are familiar with, and you're still going to get the 3-4 looks. And they're going to be very different. Sometimes the 3 linemen will be in each gap, both in the A gap, or one in the B, or both, or one over the nose and both in the B gap. And then you got the the linebacker outside wide. You can bring the other safety down. You can even do this. You notice how we got multiple safeties that play in the box. So at one of them linebacker spots beside Dion Buchanan and possibly both spots, you can play two safeties at the linebacker position and line another safety up deep to help in coverage depending on the matchups, like when we play the Saints where they got multiple running backs that can pass catching out the backfield, and other teams are starting to go like that as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's go on and read some comments here from the fans. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're good. I was kind of piggyback off what he said. Big thing is going to be communication. I mean, we all remember Mike Smith's defense communication killed it, but did it really? But especially looking at his defense, you're going to have all these different fronts. If the defensive linemen don't understand what the linebackers are doing, what the linebackers don't understand what the secondary is doing, the defense isn't going to work because they're not going to know exactly what positions each player is going to do to kind of disguise maybe the 4-3 look or the nickel look or the 3-4 look. So communication and really putting this young, because I mean the secondary in itself is the youngest on the team right there. If we're really being honest with each other, I mean we got to see how these guys mold over the rest of OTAs. Headed into training camp. And I think that'll really set the bar to where we can start to say, okay, the Buccaneers might have a decent defense if they can get this communication thing down.
Yeah. And I mean,
that's one of the things. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rap.
No, you're good. I didn't mean to jump in there, but that's one of the things too, kind of coming into this offseason that I was most concerned about was the secondary, because as you said, we know it's probably the youngest part of this team. And, before the draft, before free agency really kicked off, I know there were a ton of people drafting what they would call battle plans, basically what they would do if they were in Jason Light's shoes and how they would prep this team. And one of the things that I truly thought was going to happen was looking to free agency to get a veteran presence in that secondary, because I truly didn't believe that adding more young guys through the draft was the answer. But I think we kind of look at the situation with the cap space. I kind of take all that back, but I just kind of wanted to jump on what you said and say, I won't say that this secondary still isn't a question mark for me.
Yeah. Well, again, and it always starts up front. And I know we always say that here on these shows, it always starts up front with the pass rush. And in what you hear coming out of camp, even though it's OTAs, that Devin White definitely looks like a leader. It looks like he's beyond his years. He's communicating. I think that's a big time problem with what Quan Alexander had a problem with was communications on this defense. It seems like Devin White is definitely going to handle those responsibilities. And then also you hear about Mike Edwards being a rookie. They trust in him to also make some calls on these various fronts. So it's not just on the middle linebacker or on the defensive lineman. It's also on your back end. And that seems to be very consistent with the Todd Bowles defense, especially with drafting Edwards so high, because they feel like not only can he be a box safety, but also he can cover a lot of ground and he can also knock your head off.
Absolutely. He got a lot of physical run playing safeties. Like Aaron's is true to what he was saying. He's trying to find physical attacking players, and that is exactly what he's done. Even in the safety that was picked up, that was undrafted out of North Carolina State. The name escapes my name right now. If one of you guys remember it. Same thing. Plays down in the box, very physical, and can help play underneath and tight ends and running backs as well. And it can help in the run game. It's going to be very interesting on this defense. And I think Phil was saying that, Phil or Rhett were saying that it's going to be a new look on this team. We're so used to the 4-3, used to the old Tampa 2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's good for a chance to mix it up. We're not predictable. A lot of players said last year they were kind of embarrassed with the defense we were running out in Tampa because the offensive linemen would come up to the line of scrimmage and tell them what coverage we were in and knew what we were doing on defense. And that's actually kind of embarrassing that your defense is so vanilla that other opposing offenses are coming out telling you what you're doing before they even run a play.
Yeah, that definitely is embarrassing, and that's a Mike Smith defense. Now, let's go out to the comments here. Rendak says, read the book, The Yucks. It's about the early days of the Bucs. Great read for Bucs fans. Somebody says, Dayon Buchanan. He's definitely in the conversation. Yes or no on Sue wearing 93. I'm okay with it. Don't see G-Mac making it to the – yeah, I don't really care either whether he wears 90 or 93. Mike says from Ocala, why is an edge player like Derek Morgan still on the market? He's ranked 73rd best edge player via Pro Football Focus. Guys, why isn't Morgan picked up? Do you think the Bucs like him, or do they like what they have in-house right now?
Derek Morgan, I've followed him for a long time. Now, he came out of Georgia Tech, I believe.
Yep.
I think he's been up and down. I think he had one a couple of years where he had reached double digits, and I think when Tennessee went all out to believe in him, he didn't deliver when time was delivered. Sadly, that happens to a lot of players. They're fortunate when they come up well in one season with a couple sacks fall in their lap, or was it all their ability? But in the end, he just didn't really live up to what they thought he was going to be. And if that's some player that the Bucs want to go after, and by all means, go after. But I'm not big on him breaking the bank for somebody you're not sure of, or spending money that we really don't have. And we've beat that dead horse enough about the money situation.
Yeah, you don't have any money at this point, and Rendax makes the point. Four guys at the edge are already, even without JPP. Yeah. You also find a guy they like with the rookie tryouts, and they, again, have no money. If the Bucs go 8-8 this year, is that enough to get Jason Light fired?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good question.
I think I'll jump on this, and I'll say, sorry. The lag is that lag is awful.
Yeah,
it gets you.
It is.
But let me say this. This is going to sound like a weird statement, but follow me here. I think it's going to depend on what kind of 8-8 we see, because I've always referred to the Bucs, over the years, as the best bad team in the NFL, in the sense that they have bad records. We've seen losing season after losing season, but they give you a couple of highlights throughout the year, and there are games where you can't deny they look good. As bad as last year was, for a lot of reasons, that offense over the past 2 years has steadily been doing some pretty okay things on the field. There's some interceptions that should be fixed here and there. Maybe there's some miscommunication over a certain route, things like that, whatever. But they've done that fairly well. I think if we see an 8-8 where we just see a lot of mental mistakes and a lot of Jason Light's guys not living up to the hype, then I think maybe he'll pack his bags. But if we see everyone that has been brought into question under Jason Light, especially this year's draft class, if they all ball out, I think 8-8 might keep him around another year or two.
I think the emergence of some Noah Spence will help him out too.
Yeah.
Him and Ronald Jones. Jones has been a big-time part of this conversation with Jameis Winston, according to Carmen Vitale, Buccaneers.com. Winston has said that he's definitely showing out, looks more comfortable. I think, look, if they can get those contributions from a Noah Spence, from a Ronald Jones and a Vita Vea, I definitely think that Jason Light will save his job, and I think an 8-8 record will do that. And you're exactly right. Look, if they start out slow and they finish off strong and they're 8-8, you definitely would have to think about it, keeping him around. But it definitely comes down to the record, how some of these players, how some of these high premium picks play. If they come out and they show out like Ronald Jones is supposedly doing the last couple weeks, according to Winston, I say you got to keep him around. And I think it's funny because people say, well, Jason Light, he's on the hot seat. Well, once again, if you don't have Jason Light here, you don't have Bruce Arians. And I believe that Bruce Arians is probably the best coach the Bucs have had since John Gruden. So I'm okay with keeping Jason Light here in this organization if it brings you Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles, and a better coaching staff overall.
I agree. You guys ready for another defensive play? I got it up running good.
Let's go, man. Let's go. What do we got here? What are you doing there, Philip Schwegler?
Phil, I'm so patiently waiting.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my lag to line up just right so I can cut Peter off. I mean, just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Phil, give me 1 second.
That's funny. The lag. Oh, well, where's Schwegler at? Where's he at?
I can't have all five. I can't have five. I can only have four.
Okay. All right. Well, let's read some more comments here on Bucs Report.
You guys can see it, right?
Huh?
Yep. I got you.
So they're nickel here. Remember, we told you before. For some reason, their game plan. This is here. Their game plan. I can tell already from seeing that last play to this one. These are totally different sets in the game. the safeties are dropping down to cover McCoy out of the backfield because they're not going to let him catch that ball in space, as he's going to make that first man miss and pick up another 10 yards. So I already know what's going on with this defense here. And you can see the linebackers are shaded to the right too, because you got the tight end left, and they're not really honoring that because you're just going to play him up with the other safety or Darren Lee right there. But let's see what happens in this play.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Look, it takes up you see the linebacker blitzing?
Yep.
There's just no way a quarterback can get comfortable with all that mayhem going on down there.
Oh, yeah, it came down quick.
Where's the sack?
And that's what you want to do. That's what the Bucs have not had here the last, I would say, 5 years consistently. And, you have to design that. And look, if you're not getting the pressure from that defense and your defensive ends, then sometimes you have to blitz, and you also have to bring your linebackers, and they were unable to do that. Now you're going to do that with this defense going forward. So there's definitely some exciting things coming. I guess the question is, do you believe, all of you guys, that they have the personnel to have that, run that type of defense where they can be ultra aggressive? Go ahead.
We had started talking, you said personnel, and that's the key word that got me, because I wanted to bring this up before I forgot. We talk about a lot of different guys maybe moving around on the line a little bit. We've talked about Ndamukong Suh sometimes playing as an end, sometimes playing on the interior line, depending on what you're rushing with. Blake, I know you have a strong opinion about this, man. I wanted to ask about this guy right here and how he can be used, and that's Mr. Will Golston. Because, as you said, he's been flying under a lot of people's radars, and a lot of people forget that he plays for this team. I forgot that he played on this team the last show we recorded. Evan was asking me, he's like, there's only 4 players that were on this team since 2013, and I got all of them except for Will Golston. So, what do you got, man?
He reminds me in his situation. I think I brought this up before, and you guys, I think Derek Jones agreed. It reminds me of a guy named Roy Miller. Though they played 2 different positions, I think they're in the same situation. Roy Miller was a guy that came out of Texas, reaped a lot of benefits from Brian Orakpo. We all know that name, out in Texas. But when he came to Tampa, a much less talented pass rushing team, he didn't really get off like everybody thought he would. Fine. You got to find your groove in the NFL season. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is if we can make something simplified for Will Golston, possibly we can get the production out of him, because clearly he's not a guy that's going to get us sacks. He does not possess the speed off the edge. He does not possess the hand movement, and he does not possess the elusiveness that an elite pass rusher has in this league. And I think we all can agree to that.
So
with that being said, we just force him to be a one-gap player and get as much penetration as he can. And if he can succeed in that with his 6'7" frame and cause just havoc and not a passing lane, that's a win. But to me, just to have him do that and paying him $5 million a year is a little overpaid. And we just had this conversation about overpaying for guys who are underperforming in their contracts.
Yeah. I mean, you'd brought up his 6'7" frame, a guy that I think of, pretty much same measurables. I don't know about weight. They're probably a little different. Anthony Nelson, he's going to be used. I know he's an end out of college, but he's another guy where if he can't go as fast as he needs to off of the edge, or if he really can't get through that gap, use him as a run stuffer. Those big bodies are there for a reason, And
that's the thing that fans have to realize in this game. We all pay attention more to. I think we all started one way until we start learning and understanding the game. When you watch that play that I just showed with the Jets, there's a lot of guys who made the play but didn't make the tackle. And what I mean by that is they crushed the pocket. They forced the quarterback to pull it down. Just somebody else made the tackle, and they really get the credit for the sacks. When really he didn't. He's living the fruits of somebody else's labor, and that's what you got to do on defense. You're all helping each other to make somebody else ultimately make the play to help this team. It's not just one guy dominated everybody and made the sack on that play. There was hell on that play, and that's what I would love to see here on pass plays.
Yeah, you love to definitely see that, and there's some chat going on right now in the Bucs Report room with Vernon saying he believes that BH3 will be an all-pro type of player. I mean, I think he's being first. He's actually getting put in a defense that's going to work to his advantage. He's never been able to play in that. And look, he had the hiccup here. You don't know what that was all about. He didn't have his head right or something. I think he'll be ready and he'll be better off for this Todd Bowles aggressive scheme. Now, a lot of people say, well, they're going to have Sean Bunting and they're going to have Jamal Dean, so they're going to scale it down. Do you fellas think that they're going to scale down this defense because of the young players in the secondary? Or do you think just the opposite, that they have enough confidence to run some of these exotic looks?
I think I'm going to take it right now. I think, I think I think they're comfortable with who they have right now, and you have to kind of play off of what they say at these press conferences. After the OTAs, you hear Bruce Arians go out there and say, 95% of our turnovers that have been happening have been these rookies that we brought in, this season. These first year guys who haven't even taken a real snap. So you kind of have to feed into that and believe that, these young players are actually making it a point to shine and stand out for their new head coach, for their new defensive coordinator. I mean, Carlton Davis said this week, this is the best defensive scheme I've ever played in. They're getting these players excited by what they're bringing as a defensive coordinator, as a defensive coach, what they're giving the players and showing the players what they're capable of doing and actually performing on the field. And I think that's kind of what you start to see with Bruce Arians, calling Vernon Hargreaves out in the media. Like he just did, I think it was yesterday or the other day, saying he dropped a pick 6. He's getting in his head, he's trying to really break him down and build him back up. For whoever's listening who's been in the military, that's exactly what they do in basic training. When I was there, they broke me all the way down till I didn't want to be there anymore, and I'd write to my mom all the time. And they slowly start training you and teaching you how to do these things. And you start to go out and do them. You're like, oh man, that's awesome. I remembered how to do this. And, and as time goes on, you just that much more confident and, you walk with your head high. And I think that's what we're starting to see with this defensive team and this defensive coaching staff, what they're doing for these young players, what they're doing for some of these veterans that maybe need that extra, boost or whatnot. Vernon Hargreaves come to mind, calling them out in the media type thing. So I think that the Buccaneers feel like they have the players that they want and the players that they think will succeed in this defense, not only, getting those turnovers, but, really helping the team and keeping the offense on the field, getting off the field on third down, all that kind of stuff.
I agree, Phil. I agree wholeheartedly. And I'll bring up an example with that. You guys will probably agree. Who was one team that was the worst in the league and became first with the same players on the roster? I'll give you a hint. They're called the Kansas City Chiefs when Andy Reid took over.
Yep.
Same roster, same players, different result. And you tell me coaching doesn't matter. BS.
Yeah, coaching absolutely matters, and that's why people say, "Well, you're optimistic about this team." Well, I look back in history when Bruce Arians took over the Arizona Cardinals. They were a 5-11 team. He turned them around the next year, 10-6, and then after that, they were a consistent playoff contender. I think it can happen the same way here in Tampa, with the exception of, I believe the Bucs have a lot more talent than that Cardinal team had, especially on offense. And I think right now, Arians, Leftwich, they're really licking their chops to work with Winston, Howard, Godwin, and Evans going forward. And
we're all here. We like to see who's going to jump in.
Everybody
We're
wants.
all waiting.
Yeah.
guys.
Now, I was gonna let Phil get a couple times. I know we talk over him like it's Phil so soft spoken. I was gonna let Phil get his shine today.
It's the lag from Phil. That's what it is.
It is. And, I got my Ethernet cable plugged directly into my computer. I don't understand. I think, Blake's doing something on purpose as me being the fourth wheel on this conversation here.
Oh, stop it.
It's Blake.
I think I fixed it. I think I was because I have Facebook running at the same time. Once I took that down, I think I fixed that. Yeah, you want that one, Phil? Go ahead.
I thought you were so mad at the Clifton Smith stuff, but I guess we're over that. But no, Peter was saying, you gotta really look at the offensive talent also, because you have these coaches that are proven, they have these proven track records who piled up all these wins, who have been to the postseason, who have won accolades, coach of the year 2 times. And you really start to put that with the talent that you have on offense. And let's be honest, the Buccaneers have a very strong offensive team. They just need to score more points. Okay, that's the bottom line. They can air the ball out all day. They can get all the yards they want. They just need to score when they get down the red zone. So now that's where coaching, like you guys were saying, the coaching comes into point. I mean, and this is blatantly obvious. Anybody that's not a Buccaneers fan looking at this team and, really seeing who the coaches are in place, Clyde Christensen, Leftwich, you have Bruce Arians, Todd. You see all these coaches that are proven, and you have these very, very talented players. I mean, OJ Howard, if he plays a full 16 games and he's healthy all season, I mean, that's the best tight end in the league. I mean, you can argue with me all day. I mean, that guy, as long as he's healthy, he's one of the scariest players on the field that you really have to pay attention to. So I think 2019, you're going to have to gauge his team off of what the coaching staff has done. Because let's be honest, this is not a different team than what Dirk Cutter had, what Mike Smith had. This is damn near the same exact team heading into 2019. The only difference is you have an entirely different coaching regime. So now we're going to see if these players are actually coachable or these players just aren't as good as we all have hoped for.
And Phil, I wanted to agree with you on the OJ Howard thing, man. I think he is something that people don't talk about enough when they talk about the versatility of this Bucs offense. He is, in my opinion, if he can stay healthy, an elite tight end. I mean, top 5, no doubt. Especially with Gronk retired, move him up to top 3 when he's healthy. We haven't seen him healthy, but he can do great things. And this is another thing I was curious about with Bruce Arians coming in. We talk about the defense, but they're going to change this offense up as well. And I know something we saw with previous Bucs offenses was a 2 tight end set, a very vertical look. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of that with Bruce Arians. And one of the things we see with him coming in as well is he doesn't really utilize tight ends the same way that we've seen in the past. So if they can work OJ Howard into that some way, somehow, I really hope they can, because I think he's a guy that he's too talented to not be used properly in this offense.
And look, you're exactly right with Howard. He has to stay healthy, but he's made plays in the past when he has been able to stay healthy, and you can put him in the seam. You don't necessarily have to go deep with him. You can go 25 yards and let him have that space. And that's what you get so excited about with Arians, because he has that pedigree of putting those players in the right positions to succeed. And you believe that he'll do that with Winston. He'll do that with OJ Howard. And I think he'll do it with Ronald Jones. People are down on him. They're saying, Peyton Barber, Ronald Jones. I think he's going to get the most out of Ronald Jones. I think he definitely has a comeback year here where the coaching staff will get him ready. They'll make him understand the playbook. If he doesn't, they'll scale it down for him. But again, I always go back to the press conference. The most exciting thing that Bruce Arians said is that he's going to make sure to use all these players to their strengths and not their weaknesses. So if Winston is not able to throw deep, he'll figure out a way to get the most out of him instead of continue to do things that he's not successful at.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Seems easy.
It's called coaching. You have a West Coast offense with Joe Montana. You draft him in the 3rd round because he can't throw deep. Well, what do? You dink and dunk. That's what you do. With Tom Brady when he was coming into the league, couldn't necessarily throw deep all the time consistently. What do you do?
They do well.
5-step drops.
Yep.
Right.
There's also something I want to make sure, because we all get so wrapped up in it. We talked about live all together. We were going to do a session here where we ask a Bucs fan, and we told fans to email me their comments and stuff on this new roster. And we do have a person, Isidore, one of our biggest followers and commenters on here. He sent it in, so I'm going to show his video live what his question is, and we're going to talk about that. I don't know if you guys all saw it, but I'm going to bring that up now.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, no, sorry.
You Phil again.
Feels like that damn Blake.
It's all Blake. Blame Blake.
It's part of the hacking process. You got to kick him back out in the lobby to get control of the Wi-Fi, and it's a whole intricate thing.
Yeah, agree. So while we're waiting for that, Enrique says the old strength and conditioning coaches seem to be horrible. I can't remember the last time we didn't have several starters.
Sidor, some of you know me
as
as
here we go.
Guy. People up north know me as Sidors. So just want to give you my take on Tom Moore. Everyone's sleeping on Tom Moore because Gerald McCoy was released and we signed Sue and whatnot, whatever. But silently, Tom Moore is one of the biggest acquisitions we've made this year. Not many people realize what he has all done. He was Pittsburgh's offensive coordinator. He was their wide receivers coach, and then he was their and he was a special consultant as well. But 1977 to 1989, he was in charge of pretty much Terry Bradshaw. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings with Pittsburgh. He then went to Minnesota, not directly after, but 1 season removed. He went to Minnesota from 1990 to 95. In 92, they won the NFC Central. He went from Minnesota from 93 to Detroit 94, where he had the top-ranked offense in 1995. From Detroit, he went on to Indy, and everyone knows how well he did in Indy. Made Peyton Manning, not made him, but helped bring Peyton Manning along. He also won a Super Bowl there. From there, he went to Arizona, where he was with Bruce Arians from 2013 to 2017. Their records are as follows. 2013, they were 10-6. 2014, they were 11-5. 2015, they were 13-3, won the division, then lost in the playoffs. I would take any one of those records if I'm a Bucs fan. And you got to remember, the Cardinals were nothing before that. They brought in Carson Palmer. Tom Moore made Carson Palmer a better quarterback. A lot of credit is given to Bruce Arians, and rightfully so, but do not sleep on Tom Moore. That is a great acquisition.
Do not sleep on Tom Moore.
I like that, man. If I can jump in on what he was saying too, I know he probably went over it. Of course, as he said, Tom Moore is a guy with a resume, and as many of those as you can bring to Tampa, we need all the help we can get. So he's a great acquisition. I think he's something a lot of people haven't brought up enough. As I'm sure, again, he mentioned, he was in Indianapolis for Peyton Manning's entire career. He oversaw pretty much all of that. Arians was a QB coach with him, I believe, for a couple of years, late 90s. So these guys have connections, and he has a resume. But from what we know, he isn't an official coach. He's just kind of there for OTAs, training camp, and preseason. He doesn't have an official job title yet. So, I mean, of course, it'd be nice for him to stick around, but you got to use him in the capacity you can,
Well, I did my homework, as everybody knows I do. And Sedoris is right. There's a lot of history, and what I found was very intricate to what he was saying. There's a lot of ties to Tampa Bay, which kind of fits well why he came here. And I'm going to tell you that. He has a very long-standing relationship with Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was his defensive coordinator when he was offensive coordinator for years to come. Funny how that leads back to Tampa. We're going to go years down a little later to believe the Minnesota Vikings. If I'm mistaken, I might be wrong. If it was the Vikings, yes, it had to be the Vikings, where Monty Kiffin came into play, where he became his defensive coordinator. Funny, that goes back to Tampa again. Then comes down later when he goes to the Colts. They meet back up again, where Tony Dungy is then the head coach, and he becomes the consultant, because he's a consultant. He was a consultant for a few times. You're right, Red. He's like he is now. He's just a consultant.
Right.
And he was. They gave him a position to call the assistant head coach and offensive consultant. So, and he also Sedoris was trying to get so many because this dude has a long resume. Played football at Iowa, by the way. He also coached Marcus Mariota in 2012 and coached Mark Sanchez. Both quarterbacks have made the playoffs. Granted, people like to beat up Mark Sanchez, but he did go to the playoffs early in his career and possibly almost made a Super Bowl with Rex Ryan in the game. So, yes, the back of what he's saying, this man has been around successful coaches and players for a very long time.
And, of course, the infamous butt fumble, right?
Oh, Lord.
Can't forget that one.
Well, you're going back to Tom Moore. It's interesting you should say he has a connection to Dungy, because Dungy actually wanted to hire him in 1996 as the offensive coordinator. Of course, Moore actually recruited Dungy as a quarterback at the University of Minnesota, so they definitely have some connections. And who could forget Tom Moore being with Bruce Arians with the Colts and Peyton Manning. So He's only going to be there through training camp, but the guy's been coaching since 1961. He definitely has all the experience you want. And anytime you can add a coach with that much experience working with those many players, it just helps you out even more. So hopefully Jameis Winston, Bruce Arians, all those coaches are picking his brain, because you never know, that could definitely lead to something during the regular season. But I'm definitely not overlooking it. It's just the fact of he's a consultant right now. He's not a full-time coach, but it's always a good thing, again, to have. He's 80 years old. He knows offense. He's had success in the NFL with Peyton Manning and other quarterbacks with the Steelers and Terry Bradshaw. So he definitely has the pedigree, as we talked about with Bruce Arians. He has the same type of deal, and that it will only help out not only Arians, but also Byron Leftwich, because Leftwich is new offensive coordinator. And I think Arians is looking at him and saying, what are you going to do with this? Of course, he's going to have his imprint on it. But to get a Tom Moore, who's even older and has even more experience, will definitely help this offense going forward, in my opinion.
Phil, you want in?
No, I mean, I agree. He said it perfectly. I mean, but there's not much more to say. And the only thing you really have to, I don't know where the lag's at, so I don't know if you're laughing at what I'm saying or laughing at the lag is happening. But I'm laughing at myself. But just kidding. Anyway, so Bruce Arians said it yesterday. I think it was. He doesn't want to have too many voices in Jameis Winston's head. But, you get a guy like, Tom Moore, and then you get a guy like Clyde Christensen who understands what Bruce Arians' vision is. And you get Byron Leftwich in there. It's been under Bruce Arians, and they kind of see eye to eye. It's either Jameis Winston's going to be this amazing quarterback that we were hoping that we would see in 2015, 2016, all the way up till now. It's either he's going to be that player, or maybe there's just something wrong with them. So, I'm weighing more towards, all these coaches are going to help him out, especially with Tom Moore there. The guy forgot more football than we all know, even Bruce Arians, stuff like that, was saying that the other day. So it's really, I think everything's lining up for Jameis Winston to succeed. And if he doesn't succeed, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't succeed. Let's just be honest. I mean, you're not going to put Blaine Gabbert in there and, go 10-6 or 11-5. It weighs on Jameis Winston. And I think a lot of these off-season moves have been to benefit Jameis Winston as far as the coaching staff is concerned.
All right, question from Mike Tackett. What are your guys' thoughts on the report the NFL could push for an 18-game schedule or expanded playoffs and labor talks? I say if they go 18 games, drop 2 preseason games. The problem with that is if you drop the 2 preseason games, basically, you have less time to work. A lot of people have talked about that. They need at least 3 preseason games, so you miss out already. I don't know. I don't know if the NFL Players Association is willing to do that 18-game season because of all the rules that have been put into effect with safety. Do you really want to extend the season to 18 games? Do you want to make the season longer for those players? And then do you want to expand the playoffs? I think there's a lot of teams out there that would like to see that happen, but I'm not sure if the Players Association would be on board with it. You guys agree?
I think the NFL has always expanded in the league over the years' time, from going from 10 to 14 to 16 now. The preseason, to me, they could extend it to 18, and the reason people want more football. We don't have enough of it. It goes by so fast. And cutting 2 preseason games doesn't really hurt anything. To be honest, fans don't go to the preseason games, and that's really not enough time to tell with the undrafted rookies what you got in them, because even the ones I've seen that played well don't make the roster initially. And the reason I'm going to say that, it reminds me of a player named Victor Cruz.
Sure.
Lit it up in the preseason, and it was cut. So, I mean, even with the player overplays in preseason doesn't necessarily make the roster. So with that being said, what are we doing with it?
Yeah.
So you can actually add 2 more games with that. I'm with it. Any more football games and all that, I'm not going to deny it.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you do that, then you have to do away with the Thursday night football games, because when you say there needs to be more football, people want more football. Do you? Those Thursday night games are not very good on 3-4 days rest. They're killing those bodies of those players. So if you do an 18-game season, I think you have to do away with the Thursday night games because they've been absolutely terrible. Terrible ratings have gone down. I think the NFL is a great game, but it is oversaturated, and the level of play has suffered on Thursday night. Would you not agree with that, Rhett?
Oh, yeah. I think, as you had said, that short-term setup that these teams have, a 3-4 day turnaround, especially you look at a team in a situation kind of like the Bucs. What is it, 6 straight weeks we're on the road? That not only is that brutal enough, but you're going to London in that stretch as well. You're traveling more miles than you have, I think, collectively on one trip in a long time. So when I look at it, I think 16 games is enough. I can also kind of agree, on the other hand, I know it's kind of hard to have one without the other. I can also agree that the preseason is a little too long. I think 4 games for a preseason, it allows you to evaluate the talent that you have, not only with your starters and how ready they are for the season, but your backup guys, the guys that you're going to want to keep around on the practice squad. So the argument can be made that it's all for evaluation, but we've heard it from players year after year. The preseason is just a little too long. I think 2 or 3 games max would be good in that situation, but I like 16 games. As fast as it goes by, I think if you jump it up to 18, it's going to be hard to see teams stay healthy all year, and especially be ready to go come the playoffs, because at that point you're talking, 20-plus games on a schedule every year. That's hard to do. So I like where it is now, but maybe there are some things that could be changed. I had something else I wanted to say, but I totally forgot what it was.
I do that all the time.
And then I think we all do that here, and we're live here on Bucs Report, BucsReport.com. Join our 61,000 following. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Cabell, Blake and Blake Sports, Rep Matthew of Cannon Fire Podcast, and of course, Philip Schwegler of the Red Flag Podcast, chef extraordinaire, who still has not made any food at all for any of us. So we really don't know how good his food is. When are we going to get a chance for that, buddy? Memorial Day just passed. That was the golden opportunity for all of us here at Bucs Report.
Even some burgers.
I'm tired of cooking at this point right now. I'm going to tell you what, after this weekend being as busy as we were, I'm happy with McDonald's or, whatever the wife cooks. So
Mickey D's, baby. Mickey D's. There you go. All right. So anything else, guys? I mean, we've really covered a lot tonight. I think there's a lot of Matt says the NFL Players Association is not likely to agree with a longer schedule. Player safety is a concern. The concussion issue only multiplies with more games. I agree with that. I don't see the 18-game season happening just because of that, unless they get a deal where they get guaranteed contracts or more money, or you have some type of compromise where you don't have to have Thursday night games. And if you do have a Thursday night game, you have a bye week before the Thursday night game, because you're exactly right, Rhett. You look at the Bucs schedule, 7 straight weeks on the road without a home game. Then you're going to London. I mean, it seems like the owners are kind of getting everything they want at this point, and the players are basically in the cold. I get it. They're getting paid a lot of money. But look, if your emphasis is on safety, why would you add 2 more games to the season? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's a double-edged sword. We want football, but then it cuts a repercussion. Of course, with every action, there's a reaction. I agree with him. I mean, it would require bigger contracts. It would contradict player safety. But, I mean, if it helps the NFL's profit margin, it's definitely going to be something they're going to talk about.
I'll tell you what, if people want more football, this is where an idea like the AAF really would have helped a lot of people out. Rest in peace, Apollos, AAF champs, baby. Woo!
Yeah, baby.
When it's done, go out on top.
More champs than UCF. Oh, did I say that? I'm so sorry. But I tell you right now, this is where the XFL is helped out, because look, Vince McMahon has hired some good people in the process of hiring Oliver Luck, who knows the game, is his commissioner. He's really taken his time to get people that he's going to consult in the NFL. He's given this a year. I think they're going to challenge the NFL, maybe not necessarily because they're not going to be on the same time, but they're going to challenge some of the rules that the NFL has put out there. possibly marijuana, possibly where they go into the draft earlier. You can get prospects. I mean, this may make the NFL a lot better with the competition that the XFL is going to provide. Of course, it's going to be a separate entity. But as you said, this is where the XFL can take advantage of it, because people, if they want football all year round, this is what you get with the XFL after the NFL season. But to tell you the truth, the NFL really never ends, because after football season, then you have free agency and you have the draft, and then you have a second wave of free agency. And then bam, right there's the OTAs and camp and the start of the NFL football season. So, but I still do believe the XFL will have an opportunity, especially with the Tampa Bay franchise being in this neck of the woods. It's going to be very interesting to see what Vince McMahon and company have in store for the people and fans of the XFL.
Well, let's hope, with this collective bargaining agreement, we don't hit another lockout like a couple of years back, because then we won't have any of that free agency stuff.
Well, you won't have any free agency stuff. Well, there'll be a great opportunity for the XFL to take advantage of that opportunity. So,
very true.
Once again, it puts the pressure on the NFL owners. It puts the pressure on the NFL Players Association. But that is a $1 billion revenue business. They should be able to put their heads together where everybody can make money. They've made money throughout the process. I don't know why you would have another lockout or something along those lines, because if you do that, then basically you're throwing it out there for the XFL to take that opportunity, and you're also throwing it out there to lose some more fans. Look, there have been fans lost with the ratings going down, and with some of the political stuff that's gone into sports, whether it's right or wrong. Some people at the end of the day just want football. That's what they want, and they've gone away from the game. So the NFL has to be very careful with what they're doing here in the next couple years, especially with this lockout situation. People don't care about that stuff. They don't care about money. They care about wins and losses. Who's playing on my team, especially in fantasy football. They don't care about all that other stuff. They get away from the game if you start to put that stuff out there.
Well said.
Yeah, like Peter was saying, it's the entertainment factor to it. People want to watch football because it's entertaining, especially when their favorite NFL team's not playing. They're rooting for a new team. I know Peter and I, being out at Fergs and, talking about these Apollo games and stuff, how excited we would get and, try to find those stats that we couldn't find forever, on the internet, and really try to break down, what's new and exciting. And I think that's kind of what, people are kind of expecting from the XFL, just something for entertainment value. They'll buy season passes, they'll have fun watching it, they'll have favorite players here or there. But, I think that the XFL, I don't think it's really going to have that much of effect on the NFL unless their contracts are getting like ridiculous, like $40 million a year, that kind of basketball money. But, it's going to be that filter between, the NFL season or whatnot. And who's not excited just to watch, a brand new football, program like we did with the AAF, and hoping that the XFL actually works out here in Tampa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope it's not like the screwy rules with the first XFL where at kickoff guys are running in there and basically blowing out their ACL to get the ball. I mean, you want this to be innovative, but you don't want it to be too hokey and too much like professional wrestling. You don't want it to be sports entertainment. You want it to be somewhat football. But I do think they will challenge the NFL with the draft, with some of the players that they get. They're trying to draw ratings, and just knowing Vince McMahon and what he's done here the last couple years, he's put a lot of money into this. So he's investing a lot of money. So basically, he definitely wants to take on the NFL and challenge the NFL. And look, boys, it's always good to have more than one league, because then that league has to step up. It's the same thing in professional wrestling. Right now, everybody's going crazy. They're thinking the sky's falling because WWE has low ratings. Why? Because AEW is coming into the mix. That's only good for the fan, because now WWE basically has to step their game up. And that means AEW has to step their game up, which means it's better for the fan going forward because the product will be better.
And if I can take a page out of your wrestling book there, man, we look at Vince McMahon and how he's run his businesses in the past. At the end of the day, it's all about money for him. He is a billionaire, if not multi-hundred millionaire right now. I don't know if he's officially a billionaire anymore. But he's all about making money. And while he has creative control of things such as the recent atrocity that is WWE Monday Night Raw. It is. You look at the people around him. He has people around him who know what people want. I like to look at the NXT brand. The NXT brand is what's going to compete with AEW, because when you look at that product, it's all about wrestling. And when you watch a show like that people want to see strictly wrestling, that's what they watch. And so, you compare that business model to what he wants to do with the XFL. He already knows it can't be like it was the first time, because that was the early 2000s when everyone tried to make things edgy, and being edgy for football didn't even work. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, he's got a whole new scheme that he's got. He's got people around him who know what people want. And this is a league that we've seen already is so eager to listen to what the fans have to say. So I think he's going to do a good job the second time around. I don't know if it's going to rival the NFL in any way, even if we're talking 10 years in the future. But if he can do something to provide us with some entertaining offseason football, I'm here for it, man. So let's hope he figures it out this time around.
Yeah, let's hope he figures it out. And none of those stupid nicknames like "he hate me" and all this other garbage.
Oh, I thought that was great.
Well, Rod Smart is good for Rod Smart, but it was just it became too much about that and not enough about the game. And honestly, he was drawing pretty good with the ratings on NBC, but some mishaps with tech and just not being consistent. That's what we are here on Bucs Report every night here with the live shows of the Sports Web, Blake and Blake Sports, the Red Flag Podcast, Cannon Fire Podcast. I mean, we're very consistent with our shows, and the fans continue to come back. He didn't have that with the XFL the first time they were having it, and then they basically lost it. So hopefully they can be consistent, because Vince has got a lot of money to lose. You mentioned NXT. He's not running that. Triple H is. I hope in my heart of hearts, Vince McMahon, 70 years old, will basically focus on XFL, let Triple H run the wrestling side of the business, because what he's done with NXT has been phenomenal. If he could do the same thing with WWE, then we're not talking about AEW at this point. But the ratings have shown that Vince is basically doing it, and that's why the business is flawed right now. Then, on top of it, you guys forget, in October, WWE SmackDown moves to Fox. So that's a lot of money in that deal. So you don't want to lose that. I definitely want to see it be successful. I just think it can be more successful in the future without Vince McMahon.
More like the sports entertainment web, if you ask me. What's up?
Okay. Look, we talk about what you guys want to talk about. If it's professional wrestling, if it's football, if it's baseball, if it's basketball, if it's college football, we talk about it here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television every night on Bucs Report.
Yeah, and with that, and let me put this out too, like I did before. Again, you fans, like I said, we're here because of you guys. We're here because you guys are interactive. You guys give good content all the time. And there's guys here that are here all the time. Don't think your voices are not getting heard. That's why I've created this thing. Let's Ask a Bucs Fan. We're going to want you guys to email Bucs Report or email myself again, buckandblakesports@gmail.com. You see, I do on my promises. You put it out, I will put it out there. As me, Sador. What'd you say, Peter?
Or email me, pblake1003@yahoo.com, and we'll get your fan responses on. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be audio. Just make sure, you keep it in context. And also, there's no cursing. We don't do that like
bring
the other.
Passion, but just not the cursing.
Yeah, not the cursing. Bring the passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense.
Final thoughts, guys, I guess? Final thoughts?
My final thoughts is I can't wait till NFL football season starts, namely because of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and all the changes they have made. Fans to definitely be jumping into the pool, like Bruce Arians has said. I think it's going to be a winning year because of the coaching, because of all the changes here. I'm excited to get this season started. And, of course, on the Sports Web Nightly, on Bucs Report, we'll be doing NFL watch parties for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on those road games. So the fans will be able to be involved. There'll be pre, half, and also post-game shows. So all you gentlemen are definitely welcome on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on Bucs Report.
Absolutely.
Thinking Filthy Phil take the reins on this one?
Got
I'm
anything,
just
Phil?
happy to
Anything
be here.
left?
You know,
Anything?
it's fun conversing back and forth with everybody and whatnot. And we all bring something special to the table. You guys with Bucs Report doing your live shows and doing your film breakdown. And Rhett's doing his podcast stuff. I do my podcast stuff. I do the full press coverage, Buccaneers. Managing editor. I get my writers. Really getting out there and making people think. And we all go. Oh, what's that?
It's an and cook.
Oh, and cook, man! I'd stop bringing the cooking stuff up, bro. I told you, I'm done cooking until I go back to work tomorrow.
I still don't know. I haven't eaten yet. I'm hungry. I'm still burning grilled cheeses over here. You're talking about food. I still don't see any. So when I see some food, you let me know. Until then, I'll be burning quesadillas and grilled cheese.
Well, all right, we'll put it this way, Peter. You buy the food and the beer, I'll come over and cook for you anytime.
Oh,
Let's do it. Let's do it at your house. Let's get Bucs Report all together. Rhett Matthew, you're definitely welcome. Everybody's welcome on Bucs Report. Let's get out to Philip Schwegler's house, and he'll cook for us all with, some chicken, maybe some ribs. How about some steak? Let's just do a full buffet at Philip Schwegler's house. How about that?
I can throw in for that. I mean, that's no problem.
If I'm cooking a buffet,
throwing in a little bit of money for a chef.
I knew it was coming. He said, wait a damn minute. Any last thoughts, Rhett?
Yeah, man. So jumping into the final thoughts here, we talk about all the changes with this Bucs team, and I'm talking Bucs here. We talk about all the changes with this Bucs team. We talk about it week after week. Whatever show you do, it's all about how things are changing. I'm just excited to finally see that come into fruition, because we're going to know halfway through the season. I'll say we're going to know by week 5 or 6 what kind of Bucs team we're going to see. There was last year the week 1 through 3 facade where we were like, all right, this is a different Bucs team. Keeping Cutter was a good idea. Yeah. And then lo and behold, Chicago comes around. They beat the brakes off of us, and we see the true Tampa Bay colors that we always see. So I'm excited to see this come into fruition, and I'm hoping that it can work. But I think what I'm most excited about is Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh playing next to each other. That's going to make a huge difference, and I don't think people realize it yet. But one last thing as well, as you guys have mentioned, the Cannon Fire podcast now officially on bucsreport.com. So we have a couple of archived shows over there. And then if you want to catch any of the old stuff, which don't, because the older episodes, they aren't that great. But if you do, you can check them out over at youtube.com, and you can download them anywhere podcasts are heard. But very excited about what we're doing here at CFP, along with Bucs Report and everybody doing their things. It's a new era in Tampa.
It definitely is. And I have to piggyback off him. Everybody's got their things going on. We collab very well. We all work well with each other, and we help each other the best way possible we can. Like I said, trying to work my website out, pairing up with Bucs Report as well. I know some guys don't have websites. I'm more than welcome to post people's content there as well to get their stuff out. And I'm just glad that we all met up the way we did and work together each and every day, getting better and helping out, getting the fans' word out in the Tampa Bay community.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, guys, I'm just going to say I'm Peter Blake, giving you something to think about, along with Blake Cabell, Rhett Matthew, and Philip Schwegler. Guys, have a good night.
See you guys. All right, it's taking a little while now. Here it goes.